Hello everyone, my name is Piotr Kononow and I'm a founder and product manager of Dataedo. Welcome to my webinar on building business glossaries linked with data dictionaries. Today I am gonna start with a little theory and I will talk about what the business glossary and data dictionary actually is. I will say a few words about the benefits, why you should care about those assets. And second part would be all about the presentation of Dataedo on how you can build a business glossary using Dataedo and build a data dictionary, map the two, and share it with your within your organization. And we'll close with a Q&A session. You can use a question tab on your right-hand side to ask questions right now, and I will review them after my presentation. Okay, let me get started. So let's talk about business glossaries and data dictionaries. So what they actually are. So one of the things to understand and know about it is that those are two very separate things. Let me start with business glossary. Business glossary is a list of business terms used within an industry or organization with the exact unique definition. Why having a list of terms with the definitions would be important in the first place? Isn't that obvious what a customer is? Shouldn't everybody know what it is? I mean, it's quite basic knowledge. Well, it turns out it's not. So let's have this as an example. If you would ask different people from different departments in your organization, what is a customer? You would get very different results. So let's start with the CEO. For CEO, well, all he cares about is that customers are people or organizations who buy products from them. Marketing would say probably that it's somebody who visits their website. Sales, they care all about the leads and prospects. So for them, they are all those contacts in their CRM. For call center are the people that call them on the support line. Accounting sees that even differently. For them, those are those items on the invoices. So one sees it as people, the other one sees it as companies and business entities. And for IT, it's all about the rows in a table. So all those the definitions I just provided, they are very different. And if you will ask them how many customers I had last year, you would get very different results. That's why it's very important in any analytics and data initiative to actually know what you would like to be measuring, know what you talk about, and have a very common language throughout the organization. So in this case, we could identify those issues and provide a unique names with the very exact definitions of those entities. And this is the role of business glossary. So having those unique names and the exact definitions. This is the exact reason for business glossary. So common understanding of business terms throughout entire organization. Okay, let me get to the data dictionary. So data dictionary is a specification of data. So basically, if we're talking about physical data dictionary, then those are the list of the tables in our databases and list of attributes. You can see a list of tables in one of those, one of our databases, and list of columns and their attributes, some descriptions. And so this is a data dictionary. This is a specification of specific data set. Okay, why you need such a thing? So I identified 3 reasons. One is that you actually know what data you have. Otherwise, they are just trapped in the databases, and nobody can use it. Nobody can even figure out that they would like to measure something analyze some data, and that they can actually use it to get some insights. A second purpose is to find the data. So even though you have say sales orders, it's not easy to find where exactly, so which tables, which columns they are kept in. I'll show you two examples in a second. And the third one is to understand, even if you have found that, you have a amount column, for instance, on the order, and so you need to really understand what is this amount, what currency this is. Is it net amount? Is it including the tax, and so on? So even if you look at the data, you don't always know what you are looking at. So let me show you two examples of the complexity I think you should be aware of. So this is a list of tables in Oracle application called Oracle eBusiness Suite. Do not tune your monitor. You don't see it because there's like 20,000 of those tables. So this is the list, this is a zoom, and all those items are single tables or views. So imagine looking for something in Oracle application. Another example comes from another huge application, which is called SAP. And SAP is a very old application, and back then they needed to save every byte, and that's why they decided it's a good idea to have 4 and 5 letter names for all the tables and columns. So this is the actual table from SAP, and good luck figuring out and finding the data and doing a report from that. So this is where the data dictionary comes in place. You list it, you provide meaningful aliases, you provide descriptions, you explain how data is related across tables. So data dictionary allows you to work with your data. Okay, here are some differences between the two. So they have very different focus on. Data dictionary is all about the data assets, and Business Glossary is about business concepts. Business Glossary is a list of terms, where data dictionary list of tables and columns, or sometimes entities and attributes. You can call it different names, but essentially it's the same thing. The goal for Business Glossary is to have a common vocabulary and understanding of words, terms, and data dictionaries to understand the assets. Data dictionary is created mostly by IT because they are the ones working with data, and Business Glossary is or should be owned by the business. And another very important difference is that there is only one Business Glossary. Well, it could be split into different sections. You'll see in our tool in a second, but generally one word has one definition throughout the entire organization, one term. And data dictionary is not the same thing. And you can have the same, let's say, customer. So you can have a customer multiple times in one database, and imagine multiplied by the number of databases and applications throughout the entire organization. So this diagram visualizes this concept. So we have one customer, one definition of customer, but you can find it in multiple databases, in multiple tables. So this is where mapping one to the other comes into place. So you can, having a tool, you can do it in Excel. I'll show you a better way right now. You can map one to the other. And you can do it on two different levels. So you can map a specific term to the table, and you can link it also to a column. So here's an example of mapping of the term to the tables. You can see that, let's say, an employee. You can find it in the employee table in data warehouse, but in two different tables in procurement system, as well as HR system also is stored in two different tables. And so there's many different occurrences of the same item. And it's even more the case so with with columns. So let's say you have a very generic thing like email address. I don't think you need a definition for this, but this is just an example. And you can find this specific attribute in many columns in many tables in all your databases. So it is not an easy task to actually find all the occurrences in your data dictionary. And okay, why you should care about mapping one to the other? First benefit is to find what your key data elements in the databases. So let's say customer, you can easily find it located without having to go through all the 20,000 tables or so. It works the other way around as well. So you can Business Glossary provides additional layer of metadata on top of the technical metadata. So if you look at those, tables and columns, they can be very confusing. Even if you have a description for the column or table, it might not exactly be clear. But if you link a Business Glossary term, then it provides an additional approved understanding of what's actually held in that table or column. Okay, so that's it for the theory, and let's go to the demo. So this is a Dataedo application. What you are seeing right now is a desktop version of it, and I'm logged into my repository. This is something you see when you get a trial. So it's a brand new blank repository, and I have some examples here. So this item is a business glossary, and these elements are data dictionaries. Let's focus on the first thing, and I will show you how you can define your glossary. Okay, maybe one word. I'm already logged in. When you run the program, you will see this window. There are two versions of the repository. So this is where all the metadata is stored. There's a file. You can create it on your disk, and there is a server. You require a SQL Server database for that. So this is advised because it allows for collaboration with multiple people. Okay, when I have already created that, and I am ready to create my first glossary. So I click Add, and I click Business Glossary. So it's called New Business Glossary. When I click here, you can see that I have no business terms yet. So I right-click and choose term. There are a few other types of the entries in the Business Glossary, but let me focus on the business term only right now. So let me create a customer term, and let's provide a definition. So let's keep it simple. It's buys entity buys services. Okay, let's not get into details. I can also provide few attributes for that. So let's choose the owner. Let's choose me. So that will be useful for the management. And let's indicate the status of that. So there are a few statuses. You can create your own. So let's say that this is active. You could change it to approved or something like that. So then later, when you review the list, you can see who to talk to and is it actually a valid business term. Okay. You can see the two attributes. You could add many more attributes. There are some suggestions. Those attributes are also for the data dictionary. You could add your own metadata fields. Okay, so this is my first glossary and the first term, I can now share it in HTML. So I click export, I click this option with Business Glossary, click next, next. Let's choose just my glossary. Okay, and a few times it's just there is some configuration, and it should open. So you can see I have my list of terms, so one term, and I can see the term and its definition. I can search. There's just one. So let me show you how it looks when you have a real glossary and data dictionary. You can see I have many databases. I have a few glossaries. So if I search for customer, okay, yeah, that's the data dictionary actually. Okay, let's get back to the program and defining my glossary. So let's do a hierarchy of the terms. So let's create a term called leaving customer. And let's create returning. And now you can, with a simple drag and drop, I can create a hierarchy of those terms, which makes it easier. Here you can see it more clearly. If you have a lot of them, you can see them on the list, but you can also make a hierarchy, which makes allows for some organization of those of those terms like folders. You can also create a category. If so, I put leaving and returning customer under the customer, but I could also create a category. So let's say customers, and I could put all of this under that category. Okay, so that's a simple hierarchy, and Dataedo allows you to define a complex network of relationships. So let's create a synonym for a customer. Let's call it client. And right now, if I go to the related terms tab, it's empty, but I can drop. Oh, sorry. So here I can drop the other term, and I can indicate what's the type of this relationship. So it's a synonym of. And when I save, you can see that when I go to the client, they are both visible on at the both ends of in the both terms. There are many different types of those relationships. So let's go to the customer, and this time let's hit this button. And right now I can search for specific terms, and I can choose multiple of the terms. And so let's create a relationship type of is a type of. Actually, in this direction, it has a type, and this leaving customer is a type of a customer, and for the other one as well. So you can see that I have for the customer I have 3 related terms, and when I go to the one of those, so this was a symmetrical relationships, and let's see the other ones. It says it's a type of. When I share it, so let's see what happens. Okay. When I go to the customer, I can see that it has a synonym of client and has a type of leaving customer and returning customer, and on the other end as well. Okay, so that's the relationship. I can build multiple relationships, entire network. You can see those types defined here, and you could even extend this list with your own types of relationships. Okay, so it's as simple as that. To have a business glossary, you just repeat this process. Actually, the difficult part is not working with the tool. The difficult part with building a business glossary is actually identifying the terms and then agreeing on the definition. So this is like 99% of work, and this is just 1% of the work. But we want to make this part easy, the easiest as possible. Okay. Right now, so let me move to the data dictionary part. Let's leave the business glossary for the moment. And here I have two connections to the two data dictionaries. They represent a specific database, specific connection to a physical database. So you can see a list of tables here, right? So these are tables imported from a data source. You can see here that every table has a specification of columns, so that there are technical attributes imported from the database, and there are descriptions provided by also imported, but they can also later be provided by people working with the metadata in Dataedo as well. You can provide different attributes of your choice, so the same custom fields as I showed before. Okay, let's add a source. So let's click add and choose database connection this time. I can choose from the list of connectors, and if your database is not on the list, you can use ODBC for generic connection. I think that's the, let me provide the details of the connection. And I think there was sample CRM. Let's import sample CRM. So here are the tables. Click next. Let's call it CRM. Okay, and I should get another item, which is here, with the list of tables that have been imported from the database. So you can see there are no descriptions, but if there were any, they will be here. It has also a relationship between the tables, unique keys, and so on. Okay, so I can so having this, the data dictionary and business glossary, I can link the two. So let's say that companies table holds a customers. So what I can do, I can drag and drop and to the table to the customer term, and it asks me if I want to create a link. I say yes, I want to create a link. And what we should see on the linked terms tab, there is a link over here. So if I go, if I go to the customer term, then on link data elements, I can see this table. Okay, it works also in the opposite direction. I could also drag and drop to the table, but let's use this button, which helps me scan the entire data catalog. So I know that the customer is also kept in the, let's choose only tables, in the contact table, contacts table, right? So I click and I have created another relationship. But that's not all. I told you can link fields as well, specific columns. So let's find for contact columns. And you can see that there are many columns. That's what I said in the beginning, that there are many different columns. So all this, let's say it all represents the customer data. And when I save, I see the entire list over here. when I export, I will see all this information in a much more convenient way. So let's see how it looks. Glossary, a customer. So you can see I have my relationships and I have links to specific data elements. When I click to the table, I transfer to the table page, and you can see that this table is linked to a customer, and I have a lookup of the definition of this term. And also I should, let me get back and click some other table. I also see by each column the related term, the same thing as on the table level. So that is quite easy way to build those two entities and link them together. I think it's very useful for everybody working with the data, so they can easily look up the two things I told you. So see on top of the descriptions, here is no description, but I can look up what that actually is, and from this and I can also easily find. There will be a database field as well, so you'll see in which exact database this is. So it would say CRM over here. So that would be quite useful. Okay, so it's as easy as that, as simple as that. I will show one more thing, that you can define the business glossary from the data dictionary directly. So let's check complaints. And I think, yeah, when I try to link term and there is no complaint, okay, so I can now create it. I click new, link business glossary term. I choose the glossary. Yeah, and my term was created. Let's give it a singular name. Yeah, of course, I need to provide the definition and all the attributes, but you can see on the list, for instance, if I have a status column, I see what I need to be working with still, so what needs to be defined. You can repeat the same thing with the columns. So let's complaints again. Let's see, I have a resolve date. So I think that requires a specific definition, because when is a complaint regarded as resolved? Is it when the operator indicated or the customer approved? So I can repeat the same process and create new resolve date. Let's call it a complaint resolve date. Okay, so you can repeat that process as long as you have data elements you think require more definitions from the business, and you can see those links over here. So you can see which columns you can drag and drop it here. So you could actually see which one you think still require additional definition. Okay, so go back to my presentation. So yeah, these are just things I just showed you. Okay, a few words about the future capabilities. What you just saw is a desktop application with an export. You saw me each time have clicking export. You can automate that, but in a couple of months we'll have a live portal where actually you will be able to see everything online. Later we'll add functionality for commenting and rating assets and terms, so you can build a community around your data and glossary. And we'll also add advanced search. I showed you a search, but that would be more. This one works like a filter, but there will be much more advanced searching capabilities. Okay, so that was it for the presentation. Now we can go to your questions. I'm alone here today, so let me read through your questions and see if I can Kevin asks, so if there are field name changes, is everything updated dynamically? Yes. So if I change if something changes in the source database, actually this is something I would like to talk about on my webinar in 3 weeks. I will show you how you can build and maintain the data dictionary. Right now, I just showed you the basics how you can import that, but it works that let's say this column changed. So if it changes some attribute like a data type or relationships or whatever, then yeah, the links remain, nothing changes. But if it changes the name, then this one is marked as a deleted and the new one is created underneath. So in a way. And if you go in and edit the name of the term, then yeah, all the links remain and nothing changes. Okay, let me see. Okay, something. Mohammed asked, how do you think about the differences between data glossary and data profiling? Well, they are different things. So data profiling is all about looking into the data, into the physical data. So it's more linked to the data dictionary. If you meant data dictionary, then the data dictionary is a static view on the data, and data profiling is more dynamic. So you actually look into the tables, see what data is there. So are there any? So what's the distribution of values and so on. So profiling is dynamic, it changes, and data dictionary is static. Okay. Visharat asked how to manage the lineage with Dataedo. So if you mean the lineage, data lineage, like data flow from one system to the other, you currently cannot define that. You could use custom fields, quite basic thing. Let's say like source table, source column. You can do these items, and you could do it manually here. So yeah, you can define where the data came from. It wouldn't be dynamic, so the links wouldn't be available, and it wouldn't be imported from any ETL. We are planning to do it, but later on, in a couple of months, maybe a year or so. Right now, the lineage, you have the lineage from the business to the technical, so you can call it also a lineage. And this is what I just showed you. So these are the links between the glossary and the data dictionary. Okay, Kevin asks, does this work with different database software? So if I had a MariaDB server and then SQL Server data, would the data dictionary sync? So the repository itself is SQL Server only, if that's what you're asking. But if you're working with different databases, so like you have data warehouse on the Oracle, your CRM on SQL Server, and your e-commerce platform on MariaDB, it works just fine. All those databases can be different engines. It doesn't matter because they are imported to the same repository in the same structure. So it doesn't matter. We will be adding those connections, and you can use the generic. So you can put everything into one place. Okay. Martin asks something in the pipeline related to the roles and responsibilities. Actually, what I showed you here, so the owner, so this is something you can regard as a roles and responsibilities. You can create your own fields, like we have some data steward, but you can create, I don't know, like a QA specialist, right? So you can you choose the type and the other things. So you can actually you can handle workflows with fields and roles with those fields. We'll be adding on top of that in the future, but I have no exact plans at the moment. Okay, Terry asked, how is the Dataedo license? Is it named user licensing, concurrent user licensing or subscription pricing. So it's a name user and a subscription. So what you are purchasing is a 1-year license for a specific user. And in this case, if you'd like to build a data dictionary and business glossary, you need an enterprise license per each person, for each person. If your team floats, then let's say somebody leaves and a new person comes in, you can switch those licenses. But this is not a floating type of license. We're planning to add it in the future, but currently you need a license per user. And the portal I told you, so read only. And also this export is licensed at much smaller cost per each person accessing the documentation. Again, the same idea. And so enterprise cost $1,900 per year, and the viewer at this moment costs something about $90. So it's much less expensive. It will probably be more expensive in the future. So if you're planning to buying, then if you buy now, the prices get locked. So it's a good time to do it. In a couple of months, it could be when we have the portal, it could be more expensive. Okay. So Terry again asks, is the tool provided with all the database connector, or do you have to buy each database connector separately? No. All this is included in all the. So there's one release, and you have all this. There are no paid connectors. We will be adding more of this. We are planning to add reporting, all app databases, some maybe ETLs, but probably not in the next 12 months. That's all included. Okay. Michael asked about SAP. Let me read that. You had mentioned SAP earlier in the presentation as the database to connect. We have a similar database with only abbreviations as field names. If descriptions are entered for each of the fields, will it be possible to search by those user entered descriptions? Yes. So if let's put some description here. Let me put my name over here. You'll see how it works. If I use search function, yep. So that's the whole point. Oh, there are actually many instances of my name. That's weird. Oh, in trigger, okay, because I created some triggers. Yeah, but you get the point. Okay, Kevin asks, what about export capabilities if I want to move to a new offering instead of Dataedo? All the data is stored in an open repository. You can read this data. It's not advised to actually modify the data if you don't know what you're doing. But it's a plain database. It's documented. You can read. You can integrate it with anything you like. You can move it to wherever you like. And actually, we also have a description field. You can export for some databases. You can export it back to the database. So, but it's just for some selected engines. But basically, yes, you have a full access to the metadata. Yeah, so that's that. Vinsharat asks, does it work with SAP MDG and HANA? So you can connect to HANA using the ODBC driver. We have tested that. I'm not sure what MDG stands for, so I don't know if it's a database. If it has a ODBC connector, then yes. We are planning to add the native HANA connector in a couple of months. Okay, Kevin asks again about the import. If there's another data dictionary MDRM software I wanted to import into Dataedo. Yes, we have a couple of options to import to Dataedo. One is, I think, an Excel spreadsheet, and the other one is we could also help you with if this is more advanced. You can also do it yourself, because we have a documentation how to import into those fields into columns, tables, and so on. So yes, it is possible. The repository is open. You can upload your metadata. We will add some interfacing tables in the future, so you will be able to upload your metadata from any source to interfacing tables, then hit import button, and they will be imported to our repository in a safe way. Okay, let me see. I'm reading through all the questions because there's quite many of them. George asks, hi George, by the way, is there a limitation on how many tables you can import in the data dictionary? So we have tested it with Oracle. I just showed you. So that was the huge database with the screenshot, and it worked with 40,000 tables and views. It was quite slow. It took quite a while. We are improving on the performance, but 40,000 tables and I think 2 million columns, that worked fine. So I think it can handle many production environments. Mark asks, if I have a DB table with single table inheritance storing multiple terms of the same category, how can I show this with the type field used to identify the term stored in the table? Okay, let me see. When I define the relationships between the terms, I have a field called comments. Yeah, I don't think we have it for the. Yeah, it's not available here. So I think what you're asking is there a comment that describes more about the relationship? I'm not sure if I understand that, but we don't have it. I think we could add it in the future. So when you can link one field to multiple terms, but you're right, you cannot see what's the difference between them, and this comment function will, I think, allow you for that. I hope that's what you meant. Joyce asked if you could import the Excel spreadsheet rather than typing this in all in. Currently, we don't have that, but yeah, if you contact our support, we have created the same thing for data dictionary. It's quite simple. You could even ask your IT to upload to the terms table. There's just single table. And so the answer is yes. We don't have it at the moment, but we can have it easily if you need. So yeah, that's yeah. So I think Mark clarifies what he means. An example: one table organization stores customers and supplier. Okay, yeah, yeah. So let's try that. So I have exactly that, right? So I have a companies table, right? And linked terms. So I linked a customer. Let's see if I have something like a supplier. Yeah, I don't, but let's add this. Companies, right? Okay, and right, save. So now you have the link, and if I export, it will be, you'll have in companies table. So you'll have a customer and you'll have a supplier. You wouldn't have details about how to find the supplier, how to find a customer exactly. So how to differentiate them, but you can link the two different items into the same data asset. Oh yeah, so Mark clarifies that the single column will determine the C, the type. So C would stand for customer and S for supplier. So currently you cannot do it. You can, well, yeah, okay. not through the links, but you can indicate it here. I think so. Let's say this is a status. So you can indicate it in the description. That's one. Like C is a customer and S supplier. And you can add the same thing also in the description. So yeah, you have a way. You can use existing fields to indicate that. I hope, Mark, it answers your question. Karen asks if something's dynamic about the changes. So if something changes in the source database, if would it be applied to the data dictionary? Yes. I'm not prepared to show you this at the moment. As I said before, you can join my webinar in 3 weeks, I believe, and I will show you how it works. Basically, the tables and the columns that have been renamed or deleted are indicated as deleted here, and new items are created. So it's up to you to rewrite or copy those existing, metadata, description fields, and so on to the new item, and you can delete the old one. And all the new items, tables, columns, and so on, they are created automatically. There's much more to this. There are many things you can do with the data dictionary. That's why it has a separate webinar. Okay, I haven't noticed it. It's 50 minutes already. There are no more questions. Thank you for really a lot of interesting questions. I can see that you are really trying to build data dictionaries and glossaries in your organization. So I can invite you to my next webinar. On the data dictionary, there will be a couple more about documenting databases, finding personal data. You will be notified by a newsletter. So thank you everyone for joining. It was a pleasure. I hope it was useful for you, and hope to see you soon on another webinar.